Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Shila Satyavrata Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Hairas Thakur ki jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Bradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Rasikananda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Parshad Shri Srimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Thirubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Pritmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang prajantam anupitamapetta krityang dvaipayano viraha katara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo bhinedus tang sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Shrinvatang Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe nayamang charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptashtakama ditaranga madhe kripamai tvam sharanam prapanna Vrinde namaste charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavat pranam, everybody. Let me see who's here. Hari Priya Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Gargaraji, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Madhavi Didi. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Oh, and Gaur Purnima is, I think it's on the 18th, is it? I have to look, 1 second. Yes, it's on the 18th. But, Prajumna Prabhu, every time you ask me what the date is, I can't tell you what date it is in Trinidad. I don't know. I only know the date here in Navadip. So, yeah, you have to look yourself to find the date for yourself. The first Matsya was in Swayambhuva Manu's time, right? It's the first Manu, if I remember correctly. Anyways, we're going to go over a recap of everything. Okay, it's in the 17th in the US. But see, Prajumna Prabhu, it's in the 17th in the US. So check for your own place. Yeah. All right. So let's see. First Manu. Yes, see, first Matsya is in Swayambhuva Manvantar. See? Which is the first Manvantar. Okay, let's just read from here. I'll just read. Oh, and, sorry, 1 second. I want to, I feel bad not reading about Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosai Maharaj. And normally I would do so on such a huge day, but because I want to try to finish the Navadip Dal Mahatma before Navadip Parikrama, or at least, I don't know, before Gaur Purnima at least, that's why I don't want, I want to end the 8th canto today. But when I'm going out today, but when I come back, maybe in the evening time, possibly I will try to read something online for, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosai Maharaj. Alright, so hearing from Shukadev Goswami how Lord Vamandev took the form of a mere beggar and later expanded himself, Parikshit Maharaj remembers a similar incarnation, Matsya, in the form of a fish which as a species is condemned in the animal kingdom. Parikshit Maharaj inquires about Matsya avatar. O great sage, I wish to hear about the first incarnation of Lord Hari, the performer of wonderful acts, as an uncommon fish. Why did the Lord accept the seemingly abominable form of a fish in Tamagun, as if influenced by karma? Kindly explain this, for hearing about the Lord's pastimes is auspicious for all. Note, the activities give protection and joy to his devotees. So Parikshit Maharaj was eager to know to which devotee did the form of Matsya give joy. The first Matsya avatar in Swayambhuva Manvantar. Shukadev Goswami began to describe the pastimes of Matsya avatar. The Lord incarnates for the sake of protecting the cows, Brahmins, demigods, devotees, the Vedic literature, religion, and principles to the purpose of life. The Lord is unaffected by material modes, although he appears in the forms of higher and lower species, just as air is unaffected by passing through different places. Like the Varaha incarnation, Matsya incarnation also appeared twice, once at the beginning of Swayambhuva Manvantar, to save the Vedas from the demon Hayagriva. Second, at the end of Chakshusha Manvantar, to favor King Satyavrata. At first appearance of Matsya Avatar. At the end of the previous day of Lord Brahma, the three worlds were inundated in the water of annihilation. As Brahma felt sleepy, the Vedas emanating from his mouth were stolen by the demon Hayagriva, using his power of yoga. At that time, the Lord assumed the form of a fish and saved the Vedas by killing the demon. I wonder how he killed him. Note, because everything was inundated by water, to save the Vedas, it was for the Lord to assume the form of a fish. Now Shukadeva Goswami describes the second Matsya incarnation. King Satyavrata finds an inconceivable fish. Satyavrata. During the Chakshusha, the sixth Manvantar, King Satyavrata, a great devotee of the Lord, performed austerities by subsisting only on water. Shraddhadev. At present, in the seventh Manvantar, he became the son of Viviswan, the sun god, and was named Shraddhadev, or Vaivasvata. By the Lord's mercy, this Shraddhadev became a Manu. One day, while Sativrat, the king of Dravida Desh, was offering water on the bank of the river Kritamala, a fish appeared in the palmful of water he was offering. He threw the fish back into the river along with the water in his palm. The fish spoke. "O king, protector of the poor, why are you throwing me in the river? I am very much afraid of big aquatics who can kill me." Sativrat decided to protect the fish, not knowing that the fish was the Supreme Lord. He placed the fish in a water jug and brought the fish to his own residence. And one night, the fish grew so much that he couldn't move in the jug. The fish asked the king to move him to a better water body. Then the king kept the fish in a large well. But in a moment, the fish developed to the length of 3 cubits and asked the king for a more extensive pool. The king then dropped the fish in a lake, but the fish assumed a form exceeding the extent of those waters. The fish then asked the king to put him in a lake that will never reduce. Even the largest reservoir of water wasn't sufficient for the fish. Finally, when Sativrat was releasing the fish said, "In this ocean, dangerous sharks will eat me, so do not throw me here." So he was thrown into a jug, well, lake, ocean. Bewildered, Satyavrata asked the fish, "Who are you, sir? And one day you covered the entire ocean. Before this, I never saw or heard of such an aquatic." Recognizing the fish as the Supreme Lord, Sativrat began to offer prayers. "My Lord, you are certainly the inexhaustible Supreme Lord Hari, Narayan. To show your mercy to the living entities, you have now assumed the form of an aquatic. O best of all living entities, Purusha Shrestha, you are the creator, maintainer, destroyer, the leader and destination of surrendered devotees. My respects unto you. Your pastimes and incarnations are for the welfare of all jivas. So I wish to know the purpose for which you have assumed this form of a fish. O lotus-eyed Lord, worship of your lotus feet is never useless like demigod worship. You are the friend and dearest supersoul of everyone. For delivering your devotees, you have manifested this wonderful form as a fish." Now Lord Matsya speaks about the imminent inundation. Lord Matsya, who appeared to benefit his devotees and to enjoy pastimes in the water of inundation, spoke as follows. Lord Matsya instructed, "O king, on the 7th day from today, the 3 worlds, Bhuva and Swaha, will all merge into the water of inundation. Then a large boat sent by me will appear before you. Collect all types of herbs, seeds, and stock everything on board. Accompanied by the 7 rishis and all kinds of living entities, board that boat yourself. By the light of the effulgence of the rishis, travel on the dark ocean of inundation without moroseness. Then attach that vessel to my horn by the means of the Vasuki serpent. Pulling the boat, I shall travel in the waters of devastation until Brahma's night slumber is over. Note, Brahma's night and untimely devastation. This particular devastation, Phalai, took place not during the night of Brahma, but during his day, because Brahma felt a little sleepy. So, in the Chakshusha Manvantar, 6 of the 14 Manvantars, at the end of every Manvantar, there's not necessarily a devastation, but at the end of the Chakshusha Manvantar, the Supreme Lord, by his illusory energy, wanted to show Satyavrata the effects of devastation and knowledge, just as he taught Markandeya detachment by showing him inundation. So I guess there's two reasons. One is because Brahma felt sleepy, and the other is because the Supreme Lord is like, hey, look at this. So, by the Lord's will, an untimely devastation took place. Since the flood covered the three worlds and appeared like the nightly devastation, Brahma went to sleep for some time, following the Lord's desire to have pastimes. This short period is regarded as Brahma's night, even though it's not his night. Yeah. You will be thoroughly advised and favored by me. Because of your inquiries, all my glories will be manifested within your heart. Now, Lord Matsya will save Satyavrata in the inundation. That's where we're reading from today. One second, let me just check everything's running okay. He is the unicorn of the sea. I like that. Ah, that's probably how he did it. Probably killed the demon with his horn. Totally. Yes, for Jumna Prabhu. Yes, he did mention the horn, I think. Okay, so let's begin. Oh, and I'm just curious, how many verses are in this chapter? 61, okay. Madhya mahimanam cha param prameti shabditam vetsyasyanugrihitang me samprashnar vibhriti. Okay, so Matsya says, you will be thoroughly advised by me, and because of your inquiries, everything about my glories, which are known as Param Brahma, will be manifest within your heart. Thus, you will know everything about me. Oh, we already read this. Right? Pretty sure. Yes, we did. Okay. Etang adishya rajanam harirantaradhiyata sunvavaikshatatang kalam yang hrishikesha adishat. After thus instructing the king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead immediately disappeared. Then King Sativrat began to wait for that time of which the Lord had instructed. Astirya darbam prakulan raji prag udang mukha nishasada hare pado chintayan matsarupina. After spreading Kusha with its tips pointing east, the saintly king, himself facing the northeast, sat down on the grass and began to meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who had assumed the form of a fish. Tata samudra udvela sarvata plavayan mahim vardhamano mahameghar varshadbhi samadrishyata. Thereafter, gigantic clouds pouring incessant water swelled the ocean more and more. Thus the ocean began to overflow onto the land and inundate the entire world. Dhyayam bhagavadadesham dadrishe navamagat tam aruroha viprendrar adyayo shadiviruddha. As Satyavrata remembered the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he saw a boat coming near him. Thus he collected herbs and creepers, and, accompanied by saintly Brahmins, he got aboard the boat. Tamuchur munaya pritya rajandhyaya svakeshavam savainah sankatad asmad avita sham vidasyati. The saintly Brahmins, being pleased with the king, said to him, O king, please meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Keshav. He will save us from this impending danger and arrange for our well-being. Sonudyata soragya pradurasin maharnave ekashringa dharo matsyo haimoni yutayojanaha. Then, while the king calmly meditated upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a large golden fish appeared in the ocean of inundation. The fish had one horn and was 8 million miles long. Nibaddhanavam tachringe yatokto harina pura varatrena hina tushtas tushava madhusudanam. Following the instructions formally given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the king anchored the boat to the fish's horn, using the serpent Vasuki as a rope. Thus being satisfied, he began offering prayers to the Lord. Shirajovacha anadavidyopahatatma sangvidhas tanmula sangsara parishramatra yadrichayopasritayang apnuyur yadrichayopasritayang apnuyur vimuktido na paramo gurur bhavan. The king said, by the grace of the Lord, those who have lost their self-knowledge since time immemorial, and because of this ignorance are involved in a material conditional life full of miseries, obtain the chance to meet the Lord's devotee. I accept that the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I accept that Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Spiritual Master. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the Supreme Spiritual Master. The Supreme Lord knows everything about the suffering of the conditioned soul, and therefore he appears in the material world, sometimes personally, and sometimes by an incarnation, and sometimes by authorizing a living being to act on his behalf. In all cases, however, he is the original spiritual master who enlightens the conditioned souls who are suffering in the material world. The Lord is always busy helping the conditioned souls in many ways. Therefore, he is addressed here as Paramo Gurur Bhavan, the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who acts to spread Krishna consciousness, is also guided by the Supreme Lord to act properly in executing the Lord's order. Such a person may appear to be an ordinary human being, but because he acts on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Spiritual Master, he is not to be neglected as ordinary. It is therefore said, Acharya Mang Vijaniyat. An Acharya who on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be understood to be as good as the Supreme Lord himself. Shakshadharitvena samasta shastrir uktas tata bhavyata eva sarabhi kintu prabhorya priya eva tasya vande guru shri charanaravindam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has advised that the spiritual master, acting on the Supreme Lord's behalf, must be worshipped as being as good as the Supreme Lord, for he is the Lord's most confidential servant in broadcasting the Lord's message for the benefit of the conditioned souls involved in the material world. Jano buddhu yang nija karma bandhana sukhe chaya karma samihate sukam yat sevaya tang vidhunotya sanmating granting sabindhyad dredayang sano guru. In hopes of becoming happy in this material world, the foolish conditioned soul forms fruitive activities that result only in suffering. But by rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from such false desires for happiness. May my Supreme Spiritual Master cut the knot of false desires from the core of my heart. Purport. For material happiness, the conditioned soul involves himself in fruitive activities, which actually put him into material distress. Because the conditioned soul does not know this, he is said to be in avidya, or ignorance. Because of a false hope for happiness, the conditioned soul becomes involved in various plans for material activity. Here, Maharaj Satyavrata prays that the Lord sever this hard knot of false happiness and thus become his supreme spiritual master. Yat sevayagner ivarudrarodhanam puman vijahyan malamatmanastama bhajeta varnam nija esha sovyayo bhuyat sa isha paramo gurur guruhu. One who wants to be free of material entanglement should take to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and give up the contamination of ignorance involving pious and impious activities. Thus, one regains his original identity, just as a block of gold or silver sheds all dirt and becomes purified when treated with fire. May that inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead become our spiritual master, for he is the original spiritual master of all other spiritual masters. Purport. In human life, one is meant to undergo austerity to purify one's existence. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet. Because of contamination by the modes of material nature, one continues in the cycle of birth and death. Karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. Therefore, the purpose of human life is to purify oneself of this contamination so that one can regain his spiritual form and not undergo this cycle of birth and death. The recommended process of discontamination is devotional service to the Lord. There are various processes for self-realization, such as karma, jnana, and yoga, but none of them is equal to the process of devotional service. As gold and silver can be freed from all dirty contamination by being put into fire, but not merely by being washed, the living entity can be awakened to his own identity by performing devotional service, yet sevaya, but not by karma, jnana, or yoga. Cultivation of speculative knowledge or practice of yogic gymnastics will not be helpful. I like that, yogic gymnastics. The original luster of gold and silver is brilliant. Similarly, the original luster of the living being, who is part of the Satchid Ananda Vigraha, is the luster of Ananda, or pleasure. Ananda mayo bhyasat. Every living entity has the right to become Anandamoy, joyful, because he is part of the Satchid Ananda Vigraha of Krishna. Why should the living being be put into tribulation because of dirty contamination by the material modes of nature? The living entity should become purified and regain his sarup, his original identity. This he can do only by devotional service. Therefore, one should adopt the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described here as Gurur Guruhu, the spiritual master of all other spiritual masters. Even though we may not have the fortune to contact the Supreme Lord personally, the Lord's representative is as good as the Lord himself, because such a representative does not say anything unless it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore gives a definition of Guru. Jare deko tare koho, Krishna Upadesh. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 7:128. The bona fide Guru is he who advises his disciple exactly in accordance with the principles spoken by Krishna. The bona fide Guru is he who has accepted Krishna as Guru. This is the Guru Parampara system. The original Guru is Vyasadeva because he is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, wherein everything spoken relates to Krishna. Therefore, Guru Puja is known as Vyas Puja. In the final analysis, the original Guru is Krishna, his disciple is Narad, whose disciple is Vyas. And in this way, we gradually come with the Guru Parampara. One cannot become a guru if he does not know what the personality of Godhead Krishna or his incarnation wants. The mission of the guru is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Nayat pasadayuta bhagalesham anyecha deva guruvo jana swayam kartum sameta prabhavanti pungsas tam ishvarang tang sharanang prapadye. Neither all the demigods, nor the so-called gurus, nor all other people, either independently or together, can offer mercy that equals even 1/10,000th of yours. Therefore, I wish to take shelter of your lotus feet. Purport. It is said, Kamais taister hita jnana prapadyantenya devataha. It's Bhagavad Gita 7:20. People in general, being motivated by material desires, worship the demigods to get fruitive results very quickly. People generally do not become devotees of Lord Vishnu, since Lord Vishnu never becomes the order supplier of his devotee. Lord Vishnu does not give a devotee benedictions that will create a further demand for benedictions. By worshipping the demigods, one may get results, but, as described in Bhagavad Gita, antavat tu phalam tesham tad bhavat telpamedasam. Whatever great benedictions one may receive from the demigods are all temporary. Because the demigods themselves are temporary, their benedictions are also temporary and have no permanent value. Those who aspire for such benedictions have a poor fund of knowledge. Tad bhavat talpamed. The benedictions of Lord Vishnu are different. By the mercy of the Lord Vishnu, one can be completely freed from material contamination and go back to Godhead. Therefore, the benedictions offered by the demigods cannot compare to even 1/10,000th of the Lord's benedictions. One should not, therefore, try to obtain benedictions from the demigods or false gurus. One should aspire only for the benediction offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:66, Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tang sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. This is the greatest benediction. Achakshurandasya yatagrani kritas tata janasya vidusho buddho guru tamarkadrik sarva drisham samikshano vrito gururna swagatim babhutsatam. As a blind man, unable to see, accepts another blind man as his leader, people who do not know the goal of life accept someone as a guru who is a rascal and a fool. But we are interested in self-realization. Therefore, we accept you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as our spiritual master. For you are able to see in all directions and are omniscient like the sun. Purport. The conditioned soul being wrapped in ignorance, and therefore not knowing the goal of life, accepts a guru who can dance and makes some display of magic that is wonderful to a fool. Sometimes a foolish person accepts someone as a guru because he can manufacture a small quantity of gold by mystic yogic power. Because such a disciple has a poor fund of knowledge, he cannot judge whether the manufacture of gold is the criterion for a guru. Why should one not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, from whom unlimited numbers of gold mines come into being? Aham sarvasya prapavo matta sarvam pravartate. All the gold mines are created by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, why should one accept a magician who can manufacture only a small portion of gold? Such gurus are accepted by those who are blind, not knowing the goal of life. Maharaj Sativrat, however, knew the goal of life. He knew the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he accepted the Lord as his guru. Either the Supreme Lord representative can become Guru. The Lord says, Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etang tarantite. One can get relief from the clutches of Maya as soon as he surrenders unto me. Therefore, it is the Guru's business to instruct his disciple to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he wants relief from the material clutches. This is a symptom of the Guru. This same principle was instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jare deko, tare koho, Krishna Upadesh. In other words, one is advised not to accept a guru who does not follow the path of instruction given by Lord Krishna. Jano janasya dishate satim gatim yaya prapadyeta durattayang tamaha tam tva vyayam anam amogamanjasa prapadyate yena jano nijam padam. A materialistic so-called guru instructs his materialistic disciples about economic development and sense gratification. And because of such instructions, the foolish disciples continue in the materialistic existence of ignorance. But your lordship gives knowledge that is eternal, and the intelligent person receiving such knowledge is quickly situated in his original constitutional position. Purport. So-called gurus instruct their disciples for the sake of material profit. Some guru advises that one meditate in such a way that his intelligence will increase in regard to keeping his body fit for sense gratification. Another guru advises that sex is the ultimate goal of life, and that one should therefore engage in sex to the best of his ability. These are the instructions of foolish gurus. In other words, because of the instructions of a foolish guru, one remains perpetually in material existence and suffers its tribulations. But if one is intelligent enough to take instructions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as enunciated in Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya philosophy of Kapila Dev, one can very soon attain liberation and be situated in his original position of spiritual life. The words Nijang Padam are significant. The living entity, being part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has the birthright to a position in Vaikuntha, or the spiritual world, where there is no anxiety. Sorry, I read that strange. Therefore, one should follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Taktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti sorjuna. After giving up one's body, one will return home back to Godhead. Lives in the spiritual world in his original personality, and a devotee who follows the instructions of the Lord approaches him, mam eti. As a spiritual person, such a devotee returns to the personality of Godhead and plays and dances with him. That is the ultimate goal of life, to play and dance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tam sarva lokasya suhrit priyeshvaro Yatma gurur jnanam abhishta siddhi tatapi loko na bhavantamandadhir jananti santam hridibadda kamaha. My Lord, you are the supreme well-wishing friend of everyone, the dearmost friend, the controller, the supersoul, the extreme insight, the supreme instructor, and the giver of supreme knowledge and the fulfillment of all desires. But although you are within the heart, the foolish, because of lusty desires in the heart, do not understand you. Purport. Herein the reason for foolishness is described. Because a conditioned soul in this material world is full of materialistic lusty desires, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesha arjuna tishtati. It is because of this foolishness that one cannot take instructions from the Lord, although the Lord is ready to instruct everyone, both externally and internally. The Lord says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. In other words, the Lord can give instructions on devotional service by which one can return home back to Godhead. Unfortunately, however, people do not take this devotional service. The Lord, being situated in everyone's heart, can give one complete instructions on going back to Godhead. But because of lusty desires, one engages himself in materialistic activities and does not render service to the Lord. Therefore, one is bereft of the value of the Lord's instruction. By speculation, one can understand that one is not the body, but a spirit soul. But unless one engages in devotional service, the real purpose of life is never fulfilled. The real purpose of life is to go back home, back to Godhead, and live with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, play with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and eat with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are different items of ananda, spiritual happiness and spiritual happiness and spiritual variegatedness. Even though one may come to the platform of Brahmabhuta and understand his spiritual identity by speculative knowledge, one cannot enjoy spiritual life without understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is indicated here by the word abhishta siddhihi. One can fulfill the ultimate goal of life only by engaging in devotional service to the Lord. Then the Lord will give one proper instructions on how to go back home, back to Godhead. Tang tamaham deva varam varenyam prapadya isham pratibodhanaya chindyarta dipar bhagavan vachobhir granthin hridayan vivrino samokaha. O Supreme Lord, for self-realization I surrender unto you, who are worshipped by the demigods as the supreme controller of everything. By your instructions, exposing life's purpose, kindly cut the knot from the core of my heart, and let me know the destination of my life. Purport. Sometimes it is argued that people do not know who is a spiritual master, and that finding a spiritual whom to get enlightenment in regard to the destination of life is very difficult. To answer all these questions, King Satyavrata shows us the way to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the real spiritual master. The Supreme Lord has given full directions in Bhagavad Gita about how to deal with everything in this material world and how to return home, back to Godhead. Therefore, one should not be misled by so-called gurus who are rascals and fools. Rather, one should directly see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Guru or instructor. It is difficult, however, to understand Bhagavad Gita without the help of the Guru. Therefore, the Guru appears in the Parampara system. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.34, the Supreme Personality of Godhead recommends Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the teaching of spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Lord Krishna directly instructed Arjuna. Arjuna is therefore Tattvadarshi, or Guru. Arjuna accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramang Bhavan. Similarly, following in the footsteps of Sri Arjuna, who is a personal devotee of the Lord, one should accept the supremacy of Lord Krishna as supported by Vyas, Devala, Asita, Narad, and later by the Acharyas Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka, and Vishnu Swami, and still later by the greatest Acharya Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Where, then, is the difficulty in finding a guru? If one is sincere, he can find the guru and learn everything. One should take lessons from the guru and find out the goal of life. Maharaj Sativrat therefore showed the way of the Mahajan. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. One should surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dash Avatar, and learn from him about the spiritual world and the goal of life. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ityukta vantam nripatim Bhagavan Adipurusha Matsarupi Mahambodo Viharangs Tattama Abravit. Shukadev Goswami continued, once Satyavrata had thus prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead who assumed the form of a fish, the Lord, while moving in the water of inundation, explained to him the absolute truth. Purana Samhitam Adivyam Sankhya Yoga Kriyavatim Satyavratasya Rajashir Atma Guhyam Asheshataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead thus explains to King Satyavrata the spiritual science known as Sankhya Yoga, the science by which one distinguishes between matter and spirit. In other words, Bhakti Yoga, along with the instructions contained in the Puranas, the old histories, and the Samhitas. The Lord explained himself in all of these literatures. Ashroshid Rishibhi Sakam Atmatattvam Asangshayam Navyasino Bhagavata Proktam Brahma Sanatanam. While sitting in the boat, King Sativrat, accompanied by the great saintly persons, listens to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in regard to self-realization. These instructions were all from the eternal Vedic literature, Brahma. Thus the king and sages doubt about the absolute truth. Adita pralayapaya utitaya sabedhase hatvasuram hayagrivam vedan pratyaharadhari. At the end of that last inundation during the period of Swayambhuva Manu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead killed the demon named Hayagriva and delivered all the Vedic literatures to Lord Brahma when Lord Brahma awakens from sleeping. Satu Satyavrato Raja Jnana Vijnana Sangyuta Vishnu Prasadat Kalpismin Asir Vaivasvato Manuhu. King Satyavrata was illuminated with all Vedic knowledge by the mercy of Lord Vishnu, and in this period he has now taken birth as Vaivasvata Manu of the sun god. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives his verdict that Satyavrata appeared in the Chakshusha Manvantar. When the Chakshusha Manvantar ended, the period of Vaivasvata Manu began. By the grace of Lord Vishnu, Satyavrata received instructions from the second fish incarnation and was thus enlightened in all spiritual knowledge. Satyavratasya Rajashir Maya Matsyasya Sharngina Samvadam Maharakyanam Shrutva Muchetakil Bishat. This story concerning the great King Satyavrata and the fish incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is a great transcendental narration. Anyone who hears it is delivered from the reactions of sinful life. Avataram Hareryoyam Kirtayed Anvaham Nara Sankalpastasya Siddhyanti Sayati Paramangatim. One who narrates this description of the Matsya incarnation and King Sativrat certainly have all his ambitions fulfilled, and he will undoubtedly return home back to Godhead. Haribo! Pralaya. Okay, and this is the last verse of the 8th canto. Okay, so the meter of this is na 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 na. I think so. Pralaya payasi datu. No. Shupta suker mukebya shruti ganamapi nitam atyupadattahatva dittijam akatta yadyo brahma satyavratanam tamahamakila hetum Jimamenam natosmi. I messed up on the first line. Pralaya payasi dhatu supta shakter mukebya. Anyways. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who pretended to be a gigantic fish, who restored the Vedic literature to Lord Brahma when Lord Brahma awakens from sleep, and who explains the essence of Vedic literature to King Satyavrata and the great saintly persons. Purport. Here is a summary of Satyavrat's meeting with the fish incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu's purpose was to take back all the Vedic literatures from the demon Hayagriva and restore them to Lord Brahma. Incidentally, by his causeless mercy, the Lord spoke with Satyavrata. The Lord Satyavratanam is significant because it indicates that those on the level of Sativrat can take knowledge from the Vedas delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One second, somebody's at the door. Exaganami Ashti. Oh, Pablo. One second. Sorry about that. Okay. Whatever is spoken by the Supreme, Satyavrata can take, The word Satyavrata is significant because it indicates that those on the level of Sativrat can take from the Vedas delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever is spoken by the Supreme Lord is accepted as Veda. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta Krid Veda Vit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the compiler of all Vedic knowledge, and he knows the purport of the Vedas. Therefore, anyone who takes knowledge from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or from Bhagavad Gita as it is, knows the purpose of the Vedas. Vedaishta sarver aham eva vedya. One cannot understand Vedic knowledge from the Veda Vadavratas, who read the Vedas and misconstrue their subject matter. One has to know the Vedas from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 24th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Matsya, the Lord's Fish Incarnation. This commentation has been finished in our New Delhi Center today, the 1st of September, 1976, the day of Radhashtami, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Acharyas. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame Hoy E Abhilash. I am attempting to present Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the English language by the order of my spiritual master, Śrīmad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and by his grace, the work of translation is gradually progressing. And the European and American devotees who have joined the Krishna consciousness movement are helping me considerably. Thus, we have expectations of finishing the great task before my passing away. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. End of the 8th canto. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad, Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's purports ki jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīmad Bhagavatiya Ashtam Skanda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. All right, so let's see. I'm hoping that I can read tonight about the glories of Srila Bhaktivedanta Madhav Goswami Maharaj and also Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, and maybe something about Rasikananda Prabhu. There's pretty interesting things about him. Yeah. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govina Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Guru Dev ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashmar Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnu Para Shatara Shatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorkshadas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Srila Satyavrata Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhuma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Tatiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashatashmar Bhakti Dait Madhav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Tatiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जाय श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जाय श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जाय श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय श्री रासिकानंद प्रभु की जाय तृतीय शुभ तिरुभाव की जाय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय श्रीमद् भागवती अष्टम स्कंद की जाय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जाय श्रील गुरुदेव की जाय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Oops, my light finished. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. She, oh God, what am I doing? Sorry guys, I'm really spaced out. Om Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. So tomorrow we will begin reading from sorry, there's no light anymore. Oh God, what the heck? 1 second. We will read from Navadipta Mahatma by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And actually, I'm just going to let you guys know this, but we're going to be reprinting this book really soon. And so I want to proofread it before we print it. So I'm going to be reading it out loud, but simultaneously proofreading the book. And I'm hoping to finish before Navadiptam Parikrama, but I don't know if that will be possible. Maybe I'll have to read throughout Navadiptam Parikrama also. I don't know, I have to make a schedule for the book. All right, see you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Oh, and I never saw Champak Didi's here. Dandavat pranam, Haribol. All right, see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam readings. I would not be able to get through it without you all and having to stay accountable to all these, showing up every day and reading for an hour. And so it's all thanks to you that I'm able to do this. Jai Shri Radhe. And I look forward to beginning the 9th canto with all of you after Gaur Purnima. Jai Shri Radhe. Haribol. Haribol. Hari Priya Didi.